Hello, everybody. It is I, Goku, here to help you prepare for your exam. So let us begin. Question number one, y to the 7th times y to the 11th. So first off, what does y to the 7th mean? Well, we know y to the 7th means we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 y's. And y to the 11th means we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 y's. So if we have 7 y's, and then we have another 11 y's, what will we have total? Well, again, there's 7 total here, and there's 11 total here. So if we put them all together, we get 18. And so that tells us that the rule is simply that when we multiply, all we have to do is what? That's right. All we have to do is add the exponents, and gives us y to the 18th. And that's it. So there's our answer. Okay. All right, let's keep moving. Next one, y times y to the 6th. Now, we need to remember that when we see y, that is actually y to the 1. So we have y to the 1 times y to the 6. The rule is, when the bases are the same, all we have to do is what? That's right, add the exponents. And this will give me y to the 7th. And there's our answer. So it's as easy as that. Let's look at the next question. Okay, so now we have 5 to the 8 raised to the 9th. What do we do here? Well, let's think about what this actually means. This means 5 to the 8th times 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 5 to the 8th. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times, right? Well, we just finished saying that when we multiply, that all we have to do, if the bases are all the same, which they are, then we just add them. So this is the equivalent of saying 5, 8, plus 8, plus 8, plus 8, plus 8, plus 8, plus 8. How many do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which gives me a grand total of whatever the answer would be, which is really just what? And this is the important part. So what do we realize? It's 8 times 9, right? When you do group addition, it's actually just multiplication. So what's 8 times 9? 8 times 9 is 72. And there we have it. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. That shows you that the general rule is when you raise to another power, all we have to do is multiply. Very important, notice the base stays the same, okay? Even back here, notice there's no such thing as 2y's. It's all just stays as y, right? Back here, same thing. There's no 2y's. It just stays as y. So let's look at the next one. So all I have to do, again, the rule is that we multiply the exponents. So it's 5 times 4, which is 20. So it's y to the 20. Let's look at the next one. So this is where it gets interesting. So 5x to the 3rd times 7x to the 7th. So what would I do first here? Well, the first thing I would do here is let's organize it. Let's put things that are alike together. So we'll put the numbers together, and then we'll put the variables together. And it's easy enough to do 5 times 7 and get 35. And what I do with the x's is that I'm going to add them. So 3 plus 7 is 10. So it's 35x to the 10th. 35x to the 10th. And that's it. So what do I do here? So here, same deal. We're going to organize them. So it's negative 8 times 5 times x to the 4th times x squared. These we multiply together to give me negative 40. know, the color's too much alike. So what are we going to do instead? We'll do it in a darker color, brown, okay? And then we'll do, what do we do when we multiply numbers to the same base? We add the exponent. So 4 plus 2, and this is going to become negative 40 x to the 6. As easy as that. So as long as you keep your rule straight, you should be fine. And don't need to memorize. I encourage you not to memorize, but just think about it. If you forget the rules, what does x to the 4th mean? It means you have 4 x's. What does x squared mean? It means you have 2. Put them together, what do you have? You have a total of 6 x's. What's negative 8 times 5? It's negative 40. If you just think about what the rules are, this is not too bad. Okay, so we're on to a new rule, which is 7 to the 0. We said almost anything except 0, when raised to the 0, is just 1. There's my answer. And here's the next one. So we said anything raised to the 0 is 1, right? So this is just going to be 1. Duh! That's not true, right? Why? Because this actually means 13 raised to the 0, and then you multiply by negative 1. So 13 raised to the 0 is 1, but you still have to what? You still have to multiply by negative 1. So it's negative 1 times 1? Negative 1. So be careful. This is not correct because you have to do 13 to the 0 first. Okay, so the answer here is going to be negative 1. Moving right along, here the answer is just 1. So the question is, why on the previous one did I have to actually say it's negative 1, but here it's just 1? And the answer should be that this one is not in parentheses while this one is. So when it's in parentheses, it's this whole quantity raised to 0, which is going to give me 1. Okay, so what about here? Would this one become 1, like in answer choice D? Or would it be something like 9y? Or maybe 9? Okay, it's definitely not going to become 0 because we know in things raised to 0 power doesn't mean you multiply. It means when you raise, it's going to become 1. Well, when you do this, you're going to follow PEMDAS still. And again, that means I have to do the exponent portion first. This is 1. And so this is 9 times 1, which gives me what? 9. And there we have it. Okay. So what about here? What do you think? Well, the whole thing is to the 0, so it just has to be 1. And there you go. What about here? Looks scary, but it's just a combination of the two, right? We know here we focus on 10 to the 0, which is 1, and then we'll tack on the negative. And on the other side, we have the quantity negative 10 to the 0, which is 1. And so what is negative 1 plus 1? That is 0. Very nice. And there's your answer. Let's keep going. What does it mean when we do something to a negative power? Well, remember what we said. If you need some silly way of remembering this, think of this as you're on the second level, the second floor, and you're unhappy being on the second floor, so you have negative thoughts. So what makes you happy? Going to the first floor, right? And then you have positive thoughts. Now, the other part here that's very important is, what does 4 squared mean? Does it mean, it means 4 times 4, so we have to multiply, and this gives me 16. And there you have it. Okay, let's go on. So what are we going to do here? So remember, this is not in parentheses, so we have this really means negative 1 times 5 to the negative 4. And again, we're still going to follow PEMDAS, which means we're going to start here with this one, this guy right here. And this is going to become 1 over 5 to the 4th, right? We say when it's negative, exponent is negative, we flip it to the bottom or put it in the denominator. We still have the negative 1 here. So now we're going to do 5 to the fourth, which is 625. So this is going to become -1 times 1 over 625. -1 times 1 over 625. Negative 625 is -1 over 625, which is answer choice A. Cool beans. All right. This gets interesting. So what are we going to do here? Well, let me rewrite it first. We have 1 over 3 to the -3. So you just have to remember, again, it's negative, so you're unhappy on the first floor. So what do you have to do? You have to go to the second floor, and then we just have to solve 3 to the third. So what's 3 to the third? 9. And there's our answer. But wait, that is not true. It is not 9. Do not think that this means 3 times 3, right? 3 to the third means 3 times 3 times 3, or the base number times itself, whatever the exponent is, in this case, 3 times. So this is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. So there's our answer. So watch yourself. This one's nice. 9 is not a possibility. So if you made that mistake, you wouldn't have chosen unless you thought, -9. So I want to be careful with that. Watch yourself. Take your time. As you can see, these problems don't take a lot of time to do, so just watch yourself. Okay. Last bit is the scientific notation. How do I approach scientific notation here? Well, we have 2.76 times 10 to the fifth. And so what we said, we multiply by 10 to the fifth. And here's where a little common sense goes a long way. Right? First off, 10 to the fifth means you're making the number bigger. So what does that mean? That means if I'm at 2.76, that means I'm going to move the decimal place over to the right. Now, why would I go to the right as opposed to the left? And the obvious answer to this is you're going to do that because if you're making numbers bigger, you would move the numbers to the right. If you moved it to the left, like you're going from 2 to 0.2, right? You're making the number smaller. So it makes sense because 10 to the fifth is a pretty big number. It's one with 5 zeros behind it. That means we're going to go to the right. Now, how many places? We're going to go 2, and then we're going to go 3 more for a total of 5. So that means this is going to have 3 zeros behind it. So the answer is going to be 3 zeros, comma, 276. So which one has 3 zeros and 276? That's answer choice A. That's it. So what about here? We have 1.452 times 10 to the fourth. So what do I do here? I move it 3 times, right? Let's fix that. So I move it 3 times. There it goes again. Hold on, I gotta do this quickly. 3 times, and then you need 1 more, so a total of 4. So this is going to be 14520, which is going to be answer choice C. So I hope that makes sense. Let's keep going. So this one's a little interesting because this is 5.22 times 10 to the -4. So because it's negative now, remember when we said it's negative, it means this is 1 over 10 to the fourth. And so if I'm dividing by a number, what does that actually mean that's going to transpire? Is my number going to get bigger or is it going to get smaller? Well, if you're dividing, usually when you divide something, think about it, you take a pizza and you cut it up, it should be getting smaller. So that means that this one is going to get smaller. So what does that mean? I'm going to jump 1 from here, and then I'm going to have 3 more zeros for a total of 4. So this becomes 0.123. There's my fourth, and then we have the 2 2's. So we have 3 zeros and 522. 3 zeros and 522. And there you have it. So just use a little common sense. Ask yourself, am I making the number bigger or am I making the number smaller? Okay, one last one. And this is just in reverse. So if you understood the rules from before, you literally could just go through the answer choices and see which one gets you there. What I'm going to do, though, is show you how to do this without that. And all you got to do is the decimals comes after 4. And you just ask yourself, well, how many times do I have to jump to make it a single digit? 3 times, right? So this is just 6.974 times 10. I jumped how many times? 3 times, right? So this is 10 to the third. And you could check it, right? Like if I wanted to check my work, if I jump 3 places back, I'm back to 66974, right? 6,974. So again, the answer here is just simply going to be times 10 to the third. And so I'm going to see that. Notice it's not negative, it's positive. You immediately should eliminate this answer choice because you obviously, if you were paying attention to the previous question, it just makes sense that if it's times 10 to the negative 3, that would make it a smaller number, right? So we're going to be something less than 6.974. All right. So hopefully this makes sense and you will reach the next level and be able to be successful as a new Saiyan. Yes, I know absolutely nothing about Dragon Ball Z. I apologize. Goodbye.